Hello everybody and welcome to D-Skull Gaming, and today I wanted to take a look at patch notes 2.15. These are the upcoming patch notes for the next season, season 12. And most of you already know exactly why I'm talking about this. I typically don't talk about patch notes. I'll leave that to Freeze, Gingy, and the Raven Gamings of the world. But I kind of wanted to just sort of speak my mind here because I think there's still a discussion that could be had. Long story short, the Raider improvements, nerfs, whatever you want to call them, stun and tap, called Storming Tab, no longer stuns, no longer pauses stamina regeneration, no longer deals stamina damage. Top heavy opener damage reduced to 40, side heavy opener reduced to 35, top heavy finisher damage reduced to 45, and Raider Fury, which is his zone attack, reduced to 44. Now, in the developer comments, they say, much of the frustration in facing Raider was due to Stun and Tap's ability to take away your vision. We've removed the stunning aspect entirely in order to reduce this frustration, while keeping the soft feint timings in order to keep it a viable attack. While we're aware that this will make the follow-up lights less dangerous, Raiders should have sufficient chain options to still threaten opponents after a successful storming tap. And I agree with Hyper Armor, his soft feint into guard break. I think Raider will be perfectly fine. They continue to say, even though the Raider Heavies and Raider Fury are slow, it still felt like their damage was overtuned. They were. Especially the starters that can easily land externally during ganks, and Raider Fury that can be easily accessed after any opener. Okay, that's basically all they had to say as far as the Raider improvements are concerned. And I didn't get to see this in the live stream. My buddy Brandon told me about this, and my reaction, which is still my general consensus here, is that I like it. I think this is good. I still feel like they could have done more. I think that's a pretty good consensus. I'm happy with this. I'm very happy with this, but they could have done, in my opinion, they could have done more. And when I say more, I don't mean more nerfs. I mean more in what they were already doing. So, for example, they reduced the damage of several attacks of Raider. Now, first of all, I think that the reduction by 5 is kind of negligible. I think I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It feels like it wasn't that big. The biggest one that got reduced damage was his enhanced zone attack, and I don't know. 44 is still pretty fucking big. It's still a pretty good amount of damage. Which obviously that's kind of the point. They're supposed to be heavies. They're supposed to do a lot of damage. But here's the thing. What's wrong with reverting the changes to Raider's original attack? Like, when Raider got his improvements, in fact, I already have it open in this tab here. Where do we have it? Where do we have it? I think, no, this is Lawbringer. Where'd I put Raider? Here we go. Okay, so with Raider, these are all of the attacks that got buffed. And personally, I don't think it needed that. I don't think he needed all of this. I think his damage was perfectly fine where it was before. Like, it wasn't huge or anything. I think it was perfectly fine. And even back then, he still had one of, if not the best, out-of-stamina punishes, assuming there was a wall nearby. So I don't see why this needed to happen. Maybe they just needed to revert all of this. I don't know. This is me. This is what I thought. It was one of the things that as excited as I was for the Raider buff, I felt like that was a little too much. Like when I heard that, I was like, really? Don't you think you guys are overdoing it a bit? But yeah, that's a nitpick. The real thing that I wanted to discuss was the stun and tap, because I think, like I said, that there's a discussion that can be had here. First of all, part of me believes that the issue with the stun and tap isn't simply due to the stun, but two reasons. First, the animation. The animation on his soft feint into stun and tap is ugly. And I've seen people already discuss it. I might. I'm gonna see if I can find a link to the. I'm gonna see if I can find the video to put uh, behind me while I'm talking. But there have been videos of people analyzing Raider's animations on his stun and tap, and it looks like a lot of times Raider's animate like it looks like he's like when he's soft feigning, he clips into place. Like it doesn't look like a smooth transition from one move to another. It looks like a genuine like he's here and all of a sudden he's up here. It almost looks like he's lagging, to be completely honest with you. And like and like I understand why they touched on the stun because it's what most people were complaining about, and I'll get to that in a second. But the animation, I still feel like it needs a good touch. Like you guys like, and it's weird. It doesn't feel like they sped up the attack. It just feels like they cut frames out of the anim. Sorry, I mean they sped up the attack. What I mean is, it doesn't feel like they sped it up. It feels like they cut frames out of the animation to make it look faster. I don't know. That's what it feels like. But anyways, onto the stun effect. Now, once again, it feels like they took the simplest route, and there's likely a very good reason for it. But let me just say my piece before we actually take a look at it from that point of view. Um, I personally don't mind the existence the what the stun and tap did. Raider, I think he's only one of three characters. I could be wrong. I haven't really thought about it. That actually take advantage of stun effects in order to attack. The other two being Lawbringer, who does have a bit of a follow up after his stun, because he actually has a stun attack that I don't think a lot of people talk about, and Gladiator. Gladiator's jabs. I'm pretty sure his dodge jab also stuns, and part of that is so that he can land his lights because I think he's probably the only hero that has a I want to say he's the only hero that has a bash that doesn't like guarantee him damage. Um, no, then there's also Shigoki. There's also Shigoki, um, whose headbutt also stuns. But anyway, the point is that I actually like you have a stun effect. Like you have characters with stun effects, and I feel like out of the three, Raider is the one that actually used it to greater effect than either Lawbringer or Gladiator. And I don't know, it just feels like they took the simpler path instead of thinking, maybe how about we keep the stun effect, but we take away what made the stun annoying, which is the fact that it could be reset. The problem with the stun and tap isn't simply that he can do it over and over again, it's the fact that if even while you're stunned, you can be stunned again. And so why not make it so that you cannot be stunned if you already if you're already affected by the stun effect, or as other people have suggested, making it, giving it diminishing returns so that if people do it more and more often, it'll be less effective. But I think that's very easy to circumvent, so I think it would just make a little bit more sense to make it so that people can't stun you while you're already stunned. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. However, I could also see the larger picture. I can see the big picture about this because chances are they wouldn't want to do that because it might affect other characters that have stun effects. So for example, even though Gladiator can't do what Raider does, mostly because unless he's in 4v4s and he's got haymakers, his jab doesn't really do any damage and it doesn't guarantee any damage. But technically he can stun you over and over again. So let's say they would do what I'm suggesting and make it so that stuns no longer stack and make it impossible for someone to be stunned while you're already stunned. This would mean that for a certain duration, Gladiator can't do his jab again. So while I do say that it feels like the easy route, I wouldn't go so far as to call. I wouldn't say that it's the lazy route. I don't think this is lazy at all. I think that it's exactly what it needs to. They wanted to make changes and affect only Raider. And you know what? I think that's perfectly fine. Like I said, these changes are perfectly fine. Could they have done more? I feel like they could have, but then again, I'm not a developer. And as much as we may joke, as much as we may criticize the developers, never I will never actually, disrespect them, and I will never talk shit about them. I think I think at the end of the day, they're good. They're good people doing a very hard job. And honestly, they're even if next year ends up being For Honor's last year, they're fucking saints for keeping up with this game as long as they have. Let's be honest about that. Let's be completely real about that. And like I said, this is fine. I feel like they could have done more, but this is perfectly fine, and I'm happy with it. I'll take it. I think that Raider definitely was overtuned, and hopefully this will make people less annoyed when fighting Raider. Now, I know that I was mainly going to look at the Raider changes, but there are a couple of things that I also want to take a look at and talk about. So, for example, let's see, material and embossing. This is something that actually caught my eye. With the start of Season 12, players will be able to unlock materials and embossing with steel, like we currently have with feats. In addition to this charge, we are introducing a new white color material unlockable by steel. Previous materials and embossings remain unlockable through regular progression. Honestly, like I said, it's a start. At least they're actually doing something about the cosmetics and the all of that. Oops, I got a message. Okay. So anyway, there's also the spectator mode beta, which will hopefully come back. Player outlines are hidden when using user face is hidden. Yes. Okay, so no joke, I actually made a post about this not long ago on Reddit. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the description below. But so before in spectator mode, when people when you were looking at like the overview map, like when you went far away, even if you set user face to hidden, which is when you make it so that none of the overlays are showing, absolutely nothing is showing, the player outlines would still be shown. Now, in my post, I said that this is a minute change. It was a minute detail, but it was one that I thought about with content creators in mind. Because really, think about it. Imagine you're a content creator like me that wants to use spectator mode to mess around and like make a cool cinematic. And all of a sudden, you want to have a shot where your character like goes behind the wall or some shit, or you want to have a shot where like you're painting, like you're pulling out of the scene, and you just want to showcase the entire landscape. The outline of the player would be shown regardless of whether or not you had the interface hidden. This was not a change done for the sake of tournaments or anything. This was a change that I suggested specifically for content creators, because that way your shots will not be messed up by the outline of the hero that you're spectating. And dude, the fact that they actually added it, oh my god. No, I'm not gonna pretend like my post had any fucking thing to do with it, but I'm just really happy that this was actually placed. Oh my god, dude, getting cinematics in For Honor, especially for console players, is gonna be so fucking great, dude. Okay, now the last thing that I actually wanted to look at was Hitakiri, and it's for this reason right here. uninterruptible stance, aka hyper armor, has been is now going to be at 500 milliseconds instead of 300. So no more parry on red. I am so fucking happy about this. Like, this is another thing that I think everyone agreed was just fucking stupid. His hyper armor came in way too early, and it made it basically impossible for people to counter what he was for people to be able to properly fight Hitakiri, because that meant that they had to respect what Hitakiri was doing, and Hitakiri didn't have to respect jack shit. Now some people who main Hitakiri, who play Hitakiri, some people might say, but wait, doesn't Shigoki also have like a heavy, like that kind of startup with a light attack? Yes, with a light attack. And last time I checked, you don't parry with a fucking light attack. On top of that, because it's a light attack, he's opening himself up for a potential light parry. So Shigoki's fine. This was not. Honestly, looking at these patch notes, I'm mostly satisfied. Like I said, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with Raider, but then again, when you think about the broader picture, maybe there's a good reason for it. So all in all, I'm perfectly happy with this. I'm happy that they are acknowledging these problems. Like, once again, Hitakiri and Rework Raider, they came out around the same time, and they're basically getting their nerfs relatively early. I will say, I know I keep using PK, but PK got fucking, she got reworked, and she was pretty bad for a while, and now she got a buff that was so minor. I don't even know why it took so long for that to happen. Yeah, I'm glad that they're taking a look at these things. I'm especially happy with this fucking thing. Honestly, more so than Hitakiri, this is the thing that makes me the happiest. For us content creators, this is going to be awesome. Especially us content creators on console. Honestly, even PC content creators, you had to do some shit to get, cool camera angles and, all of that. But yeah, all in all, I'm very happy with this with this patch note. Hope you guys enjoyed this little video, and tell me. I will leave a link to these patch notes in the description. Just let me know what exactly about these patch notes excites you. Is it the new hero, the Raider changes, the Hitakiri changes, or, well, you know exactly what I'm excited about right here. But anyways, as always, this has been D-Skull, and I will see you guys next time.